Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My assigned topic is on psychosocial development by Erikson. By the way, for those who don't know me yet, I am Nurjaima A. Ampuan. I graduated with a degree of Bachelor of Science in Biology, Pre-Med, and currently connected with the RC College under the Biology Department. In this presentation, I will discuss the biography of Erik Erikson, also the psychosocial development and its stages, and lastly, some takeaways regarding the topics or the topic discussed. Now, who is Erik Erikson? He was an ego psychologist who developed one of the most popular and influential theories of development. While his theory was impacted by psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud's work, Erikson's theory centered on psychosocial development rather than psychosexual development. Erik Erikson was born on June 15, 1902 in Frankfurt, Germany. He studied art and a variety of languages during his school years. But instead of going to college, he traveled around Europe, where he kept a journal of all his life experiences along the way. After traveling, he then went to art school in 1927, where he began to teach art and other subjects to children of Americans who had come to Vienna from Freudian training. After teaching the children in Vienna, he then was admitted into the Vienna Psychoanalytic Institute. Later on, in 1933, he moved to the United States, and there he became Boston's first child analyst and received a position at the Harvard Medical School. He then moved to California to the Center of Advanced Study in the Behavioral Sciences at Palo Alto and later Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco, where he was a clinician and psychiatric consultant. Erik Erikson's early work focused chiefly on testing and extending Freudian theory in relation to the effect of social and cultural factors upon human psychology. In addition, he focused more on how society affects childhood and development. In 1950, he moved to Massachusetts where he taught and worked for 10 years. In the same year, he wrote his first book, which is said to be his most important one, called Childhood and Society. It was in this book he first explained his 8 stages theory of human development. During each of Erikson's 8 development stages, two conflicting ideas must be resolved successfully in order for a person to become a confident, contributing member of society. Erikson also expanded upon Freud's stages by discussing the cultural implications of development, and certain cultures may need to resolve the stages in different ways based upon their cultural and survival needs. He also wrote many other books that talked about his interest in humanistic and society perspectives. He later retired from clinical practice but did not stop his research and his writing. Eventually, he died on May 12, 1994 at the age of 91. So, what exactly did Erikson's theory of psychosocial development entail? Much like Sigmund Freud, Erikson believed that personality developed in a series of stages. Unlike Freud's theory of psychosexual stages, however, Erikson's theory described the impact of social experience across the whole lifespan. Erikson was interested in how social interaction and relationships played a role in the development and growth of human beings. Each stage in Erikson's theory builds on the preceding stages and paves the way for following periods of development. In each stage, Erikson believed people experience a conflict that serves as a turning point in development. In Erikson's view, these conflicts are centered on either developing a psychological quality or failing to develop that quality. During these times, the potential for personal growth is high, but so is the potential for failure. If people successfully deal with the conflict, they emerge from the stage with psychological strengths that will serve them well for the rest of their lives. If they fail to deal effectively with these conflicts, they may not develop the essential skills needed for a strong sense of self. Erikson also believed that a sense of competence motivates behaviors and actions. Each stage in Erikson's theory is concerned with becoming competent in an area of life. If the stage is handled well, the person will feel a sense of mastery, which is sometimes referred to as ego strength or ego quality. If the stage is managed poorly, the person will emerge with a sense of inadequacy in that aspect of development. Okay, so the first stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development occurs between birth and 1 year of age and is the most fundamental stage in life. Because an infant is utterly dependent, developing trust is based on the dependability and quality of the child's caregivers. At this point in development, the child is utterly dependent upon adult caregivers for everything they need to survive, including food, love, warmth, safety, and nurturing. So if a caregiver fails to provide adequate care and love, the child will come to feel that they cannot trust or depend upon the adults. So what are the possible outcomes of this conflict? If a child successfully develops trust, the child will feel safe and secure in the world. Caregivers or parents who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or rejecting contribute to feelings of mistrust in the children under their care. Failure to develop trust will result in fear and a belief that the world is inconsistent and unpredictable. During the first stage of psychosocial development, children develop a sense of trust when caregivers or parents provide reliability, care, and affection. A lack of this will lead to mistrust. Remember that no child is going to develop a sense of 100% trust or 100% doubt. Erikson believed that successful development was all about striking a balance between the two opposing sides. When this happens, children acquire hope, which Erikson described as an openness to experience tempered by some wariness that danger may be present. Stage 2. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. The second stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development takes place during early childhood and is focused on children developing a greater sense of personal control. On the role of independence, at this point in development, children are just starting to gain a little independence. They are starting to perform basic actions on their own and making simple decisions about what they prefer. By allowing kids to make choices and gain control, parents and caregivers can help children develop a sense of autonomy. On the side of potty training, the essential theme of this stage is that children need to develop a sense of personal control over physical skills and a sense of independence. Like, the potty training plays an important role in helping children develop this sense of autonomy. Like Freud, Erikson believed that toilet training was a vital part of this process. However, Erikson's reasoning was quite different than that of Freud's. Erikson believed that learning to control one's bodily functions leads to a feeling of control and a sense of independence. Other important events include gaining more control over food choices, toy preferences, and clothing selection. So what are the possible outcomes on this? Children who struggle and who are shamed for their accidents may be left without a sense of personal control. And success during this stage of psychosocial development leads to feelings of autonomy. And failure results in feelings of shame and doubt. So how to balance this one? So children who successfully complete this stage feel secure and confident, while those who do not are left with a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt. And Erikson believed that achieving a balance between autonomy and shame and doubt would lead to will, which is the belief that children can act with intention, within reason, and limits. The third stage of psychosocial development takes place during the preschool years, initiative versus guilt. At this point in psychosocial development, children begin to assert their power and control over the world through directing play and other social interactions. So children who are successful at this stage feel capable and able to lead others. And those who fail to acquire these skills are left with a sense of guilt, self-doubt, and lack of initiative. The major theme of the third stage of psychosocial development is that children need to begin asserting control and power over the environment. Success in this stage leads to a sense of purpose, and children who try to exert too much power experience disapproval, resulting in a sense of guilt. So when an ideal balance of individual initiative and a willingness to work with others is achieved, the ego quality known as purpose emerges. The fourth psychosocial stage takes place during the early school years from approximately ages 5 to 11. Through social interactions, children begin to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishments and abilities. Children need to cope with new social and academic demands, and success leads to a sense of competence, while failure results in feelings of inferiority. So what are the possible outcomes? Children who are encouraged and commended by parents and teachers develop a feeling of competence and belief in their skills. Those who receive little or no encouragement from parents, teachers, or peers will doubt their abilities to be successful. Successfully finding a balance at this stage of psychosocial development leads to the strength known as competence, in which children develop a belief in their abilities to handle the tasks set before them. The fifth psychosocial stage takes place during the often turbulent teenage years. This stage plays an essential role in developing a sense of personal identity, which will continue to influence behavior and development for the rest of a person's life. Teens need to develop a sense of self and personal identity, and success leads to an ability to stay true to yourself, while failure leads to role confusion and a weak sense of self. During adolescence, children explore their independence and develop a sense of self. Those who receive proper encouragement and reinforcement through personal exploration will emerge from this stage with a strong sense of self and feelings of independence and control. Those who remain unsure of their beliefs and desires will feel insecure and confused about themselves and the future. Now, what is identity pala? In psychology, it refers to all of the beliefs and ideals and values that help shape and guide a person's behavior. So, in completing this stage, it successfully leads to fidelity, which Erikson described as an ability to live by society's standards and expectations. While Erikson believed that each stage of psychosocial development was important, he placed a particular emphasis on the development of ego identity. Ego identity is the conscious sense of self that we develop through social interaction and becomes a central focus during the identity versus confusion stage of psychosocial development. According to Erikson, our ego identity constantly changes due to new experiences and information we acquire in our daily interaction with others. As we have new experiences, we also take on challenges that can help or hinder the development of identity. So why identity is important? Our personal identity gives each of us an integrated and cohesive sense of self that endures through our lives. Our sense of personal identity is shaped by our experiences and interaction with others. And it is this identity that helps guide our actions, beliefs, and behaviors as we age. On the sixth stage, which is the intimacy versus isolation, young adults need to form intimate, loving relationships with other people. And success leads to strong relationships while failure results in loneliness and isolation. This stage covers the period of early adulthood when people are exploring personal relationships. Erikson believed it was vital that people develop close, committed relationship with other people. Those who are successful at this step will form relationships that are enduring and secure. Remember that each step builds on skills learned in previous steps. Erikson believed that a strong sense of personal identity was important for developing intimate relationships. Studies have demonstrated that those with a poor sense of self tend to have less committed relationships and are more likely to struggle with emotional isolation, loneliness, and depression. Successful resolution of this stage results in the virtue known as love. It is marked by the ability to form lasting, meaningful relationships with other people. On generativity versus stagnation, adults need to create or nurture things that will outlast them, often by having children or creating a positive change that benefits other people. And success leads to feelings of usefulness and accomplishment, while failure results in shallow involvement in the world. During adulthood, we continue to build our lives, focusing on our career and family. Those who are successful during this phase will feel that they are contributing to the world by being active in their home and community. And those who fail to attain this skill will feel unproductive and uninvolved in the world. Remember that care is the virtue achieved when this stage is handled successfully. Being proud of your accomplishments, watching your children grow into adults, and developing a sense of unity with your life partner are important accomplishments of this stage. Lastly, we have integrity versus despair. The final stage occurs during old age and is focused on reflecting back on life. At this point in development, people look back on the events of their lives and determine if they are happy with the life that they lived or if they regret the things they did or didn't do. Erikson's theory differed from many others because it addressed development throughout the entire lifespan, including old age. Older adults need to look back on life and feel a sense of fulfillment. And success at this stage leads to feelings of wisdom, while failure results in regret, bitterness, and despair. At this stage, people reflect back on the events of their lives and take stock. Those who look back on a life they feel was well lived will feel satisfied and ready to face the end of their lives with a sense of peace. And those who look back and only feel regret will instead feel fearful that their lives will end without accomplishing the things they feel they should have. So what are the possible outcomes of this? Those who are unsuccessful during this stage will feel that their life has been wasted and may experience many regrets. And the person will be left with feelings of bitterness and despair. Those who feel proud of their accomplishments will feel a sense of integrity. Successfully completing this phase means looking back with few regrets and a general feeling of satisfaction. These individuals will attain wisdom even when confronting death. One of the strengths of psychosocial theory is that it provides a broad framework from which to view development throughout the entire lifespan. It also allows us to emphasize the social nature of human beings and the important influence that social relationships have on development. Researchers have found evidence supporting Erikson's ideas about identity and have further identified different substages on identity formation. Some research also suggests that people who form strong personal identities during adolescence are better capable of forming intimate relationships during early adulthood. Other research suggests, however, that identity formation and development continues well into adulthood. Erikson believed that his theory was a tool to think with rather than a factual analysis. So take these 8 stages as the starting point you use to help your child develop the psychosocial skills they need to become a successful person. So that ends my discussion. Thank you for listening. And for further questions or clarifications regarding my topic, you may reach me through my Gmail and Messenger or Facebook Messenger, Narjay Maampuan. Thank you once again and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.